Along with the emergence of Homer's great epics, another monumental event occurs to bring the Greeks out of the Dark Ages. The ancient Olympic Games are no ordinary competition. They are a battle for glory, honor, and survival. Athletes strip down naked, oil their bodies, and prepare to push themselves to the limit in events that test both strength and skill. The crowds roar as chariots crash, wrestlers grapple, and runners sprint toward immortality. These games are the pinnacle of ancient Greek culture, where victors earn eternal fame and losers fade into obscurity. Take a journey with your personal classics teacher as we travel to ancient Olympia to witness the wild world of sports. Mr. Seeger presents The Story of the Ancient Greeks, Episode 6, The Ancient Olympic Games. The ancient Olympic Games are more than just an athletic competition. They are a sacred festival dedicated to Zeus, the king of the gods. The first recorded Olympics are held in 776 BCE in Olympia. Athletes from a dozen city-states come to the first Olympics for a single event, a 200-yard sprint known as the Stadion, which is the origin of the English word stadium. Over time, the games expand to include a wide variety of events, drawing competitors from over 100 Greek city-states and colonies stretching from the Black Sea to the Western Mediterranean. Although historical records confirm the 776 BCE Games, scholars believe that organized athletic contests begin much earlier, likely as funeral games to honor fallen warriors. Greek myths offer different explanations for the origin of the Olympics. One legend attributes their creation to Heracles, who, after completing one of his 12 labors in Elis, clears a sacred grove and establishes the games in honor of his father, Zeus. Another tale describes how Pelops, a legendary figure in Greek mythology and the namesake of the Peloponnesian Peninsula, establishes the games after winning a chariot race to marry Princess Hippodamia. A third story claims that Zeus himself initiates the games after defeating his father Kronos for supremacy of the universe. The mythological battle takes place on the hill of Kronos, which is one of the reported birthplaces of Zeus, and the place where, as a clever baby, he escapes his father, who tried to eat him. Ancient Greeks do not live in Olympia. It is a sanctuary set aside as a monastery and pilgrimage. The nearest town is Elis, over 30 miles away. Ancient Greeks come to Olympia only every 4 years, during the religious festival that features the Olympic Games. The heart of the sanctuary is a sacred enclosure called the Altis, a walled-off rectangular area that houses 2 large temples, multiple altars, and statues to the gods. Whereas Delphi serves as a pilgrimage destination, mostly for groups of wealthy men on a particular mission. Every 4 years, Olympia draws at least 40,000 ordinary Greeks for a pan-Hellenic party, the Olympic Games. Every 4 years, the Greek city-states honor what is known as the Olympic Truce. Inscribed on a bronze discus and kept in the Temple of Hera, this decree ensures that all participating city-states must cease warfare, suspend legal disputes, and postpone executions for the duration of the Games. Truce-bearers from the city-state of Elis travel across Greece to announce these terms, ensuring safe passage for all travelers. Initially lasting 1 month, the truce later extends to 3 months to accommodate those coming from distant regions. Breaking the truce comes at a heavy price. Those who defy it are severely fined. The responsibility of organizing and overseeing the Games falls to 10 judges from Elis, chosen by lottery. Their duties are immense, beginning nearly a year in advance. The grounds of Olympia, left untouched since the last Games, require extensive preparation, landscaping, cleaning, and setting up accommodations for athletes and visitors. By the time the festival nears, the first competitors begin arriving in Elis to complete their final month of training under the judges' watchful eyes. 2 days before the Games begin, the great procession departs from Elis toward Olympia. Athletes, trainers, horses, chariots, judges, and officials embark on the Sacred Way, a 36-mile route. The journey takes 2 days, with ceremonial stops for religious festivities, symbolic of the Games' religious origins. Meanwhile, spectators arrive from all corners of the Greek world. Some bring tents, while others construct wooden shelters, eager to witness the spectacle ahead. Near the sanctuary stands the massive Leonidaeum, a luxury 4-star hotel, boasting 145 rooms, private baths, and a central pool, built in the 4th century BCE to house dignitaries and famous athletes during the Games. The gymnasium is the largest building in the whole sanctuary, built in the 4th century BCE. It serves as a center for physical training, particularly for runners and pentathletes. Large enough to provide the ample space for training, it includes a massive courtyard, about the size of 6 football fields, so that athletes can practice in a space akin to the one in which they will compete. Like other Greek gymnasiums, it may also be a place for discussions on philosophy and education. Adjacent to the gymnasium stands the Palaestra, a smaller training facility built around 300 BCE. Situated west of the Altis, near the Cladios River, the Palaestra was an integral part of the gymnasium complex, connected to it by a small doorway. Designed for combat sports and other smaller-scale events, it features a nearly square courtyard spanning approximately an acre. Encircling the courtyard is an elegant Doric colonnade of 72 columns, offering both structural support and shade. The stadium, constructed in the 5th century BCE, is designed to accommodate up to 45,000 spectators, though it lacks permanent seating except for stone thrones reserved for judges, officials, and honored guests. The stadium track measures 640 feet from start to finish, aligning with the Greek word stadion, which refers to a course traditionally measured at 600 Olympic feet, a distance believed to have been first marked by Heracles. At the starting line, much like in modern athletics, a white block is placed to help competitors position their feet before the race begins. From the 3rd century BCE onward, athletes enter the stadium through a vaulted passageway called the crypt, featuring a grand 32-meter marble roof. The Games are deeply intertwined with Greek religion. The 2-day procession from Elis along the Sacred Way finally makes its way through Olympia. The festival lasts 5 days, with the 3rd day dedicated to a grand sacrifice of 100 oxen in honor of Zeus. The remains of the oxen are then used for a public feast. The religious significance of the Games is evident in the architectural grandeur of Olympia. The most magnificent structure is the Temple of Zeus, completed in the 5th century BCE, which contains one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, a 40-foot tall statue of Zeus, made of gold and ivory, holding Nike, the goddess of victory, in his right hand. And in his left hand is a scepter topped with an eagle. The Great Temple, the first of the Golden Age temples, is one of the biggest Greek temples, as it is not much smaller than the Parthenon atop Athens' Acropolis. It will stand for nearly 1,000 years before it crumbles in the 6th century CE. The Philippeion is the council chamber where, by stepping on the testicles of castrated bulls, athletes take an oath not to cheat, as this is a religious event, and because physical training is a part of moral education, the oaths and personal honor are held sacred. At the foot of the hill of Kronos, just before the crypt of the stadium, there is a row of 16 pedestals that hold bronze statues of Zeus. These statues are called zanes, the plural of Zeus. At the ancient Olympics, it is an honor just to compete, and there is no shame in not winning. Quitters and cheaters, however, are another story. The zanes are paid for with fines levied on cheaters, whose names and ill deeds are inscribed in the bases. As visitors enter the stadium, they spit on the names of the bases. Offenses range from doping, that is, using forbidden herbs, or bribing opponents, to failing to train in advance of the Games, or quitting out of cowardice. Drinking animal blood is forbidden, and official urine tasters test for this ancient equivalent of steroids. The Olympic competition evolves to include various events beyond just foot races, and athletes compete individually, not on behalf of their city-states, reinforcing the Greek ideal of personal excellence. The pentathlon, a test of overall athleticism, is among the most prestigious events, consisting of 5 disciplines: running, wrestling, long jumping, discus throwing, and javelin hurling. Aristotle says, "Pentathletes have the most beautiful bodies because they are built for speed and strength." The exact scoring method remains unclear, but sources suggest that if an athlete wins the first 3 events, he is declared the victor, and the final 2 events are canceled. Long jumpers carry weights in both hands, swinging them to propel themselves farther. Ancient records claim some athletes leap over 16 meters, a feat that modern jumpers can only dream of. Combat sports such as boxing, wrestling, and pankration are also introduced. Boxing is brutal. Fighters wrap their hands in leather strips, but there are no weight classes. and bouts take place over a wide, open area. Almost anything goes. The match ends only when one competitor is knocked out or surrenders. Wrestling is equally savage. While biting and gouging are forbidden, wrestlers can use almost any other means to win. Hair pulling is so common that many competitors shave their heads. There are two versions of the sport. One where the goal is to throw an opponent to the ground 3 times, and another where the fight continues until one wrestler gives up. Wrestlers coat themselves in oil, making it nearly impossible for their opponents to gain a firm grip. Pankration is a brutal mix of wrestling and boxing, a sort of ancient ultimate fighting with only 2 rules: no biting and no eye gouging. In the first Olympic Games, athletes likely wear shorts, but later they compete naked in most events. The Greeks themselves offer 2 explanations for this shift. One story claims that a runner from Athens is leading a race when his shorts slip off, tripping him and causing him to lose. As a result, the judges outlaw clothing to prevent future mishaps. Another legend tells of a runner from Megara who loses his shorts during a long-distance race, but goes on to win anyway, sparking a trend of naked competition. However, the true reason may simply be vanity. Before competing, athletes rub themselves with olive oil to highlight their muscular physiques. At any rate, it appears that, at least for some events, athletes tied a string around their genitalia to serve as a sort of ancient jockstrap. Nevertheless, because ancient Greeks believed that training the male body is as important as training the mind, athletics are a big part of every boy's education. Moreover, athletic training doubles as military training, a key element in citizenship. So most towns have a gymnasium. The word gymnasium comes from the Greek word gymnos, meaning naked. Even today, the term gymnasium is used in many European countries, including Greece, to describe what Americans call high school. The Olympics are the most prestigious of the Pan-Hellenic Games, which also include the Isthmian Games, honoring Poseidon in Corinth, the Pythian Games, honoring Apollo in Delphi, and the Nemean Games, honoring Zeus in Nemea. The Olympic Games are so important to the Greeks that they use them to mark the passage of time. But the Olympics are more than just religious ceremonies and sporting events. They are a meeting ground for the entire Greek world. Politicians strike agreements, merchants forge business deals, and old friends reunite after years apart. The Games are a major social and political event. Spectators, merchants, and politicians from across Greece gather to watch the competitions, engage in trade, and negotiate political alliances. Ancient athletes regularly receive prizes worth substantial amounts of money. In fact, the word athlete is an ancient Greek word that means one who competes for a prize, and is related to 2 other Greek words, athlos meaning contest, and athlon meaning prize. Victors in the Olympics receive only an olive wreath, but the prestige of winning is immense. Champions are celebrated as heroes in their home cities, often receiving monetary rewards, free meals for life, and even having statues erected in their honor. One of the most famous Olympians is Milo of Croton, a 6-time wrestling champion, known for his extraordinary strength and dramatic public feats. Famous for his dramatic displays of strength, he can reportedly snap a headband off his head without the use of his hands, just by swelling his veins and flexing his neck muscles. His training methods, particularly his supposed habit of carrying a growing calf every day until it became a fully grown bull, contributes to his reputation as one of the strongest Greek men. Women are largely excluded from the Olympics. Married women are forbidden from attending, though unmarried women may have been allowed. However, women do have their own competition, the Heraean Games, held in honor of the goddess Hera. The female athletes, instead of being nude, wear tunics cut short above the knee, leaving their right shoulder bare. These all-female games focus solely on foot races. The Temple of Hera, located north of the Temple of Zeus, is the oldest temple at Olympia, one of the most venerable in all Greece, and one of the earliest examples of Doric temple architecture. The temple plays a key role in religious ceremonies and rituals at Olympia. It houses a statue of the Queen of Gods, which is now lost, as well as the famous statue of Hermes and the infant Dionysus, which is now found in Olympia's museum. During the Olympic Games, the Temple of Hera also houses the bronze discus, commemorating the truce that all city-states swear, as well as the olive wreaths for the victors. The Olympic flame for the modern Olympic Games is traditionally lit in front of the Temple of Hera before being carried to the host city. Despite centuries of warfare and political strife, the Olympic Games endures beyond the Archaic Age and for nearly the next 12 centuries. After Alexander the Great conquers Greece, he adds a monument in the Altis to honor his deceased father, Philip II of Macedon. The Philippeion is a unique, circular structure within the sanctuary. Inside the structure stands gold and ivory statues of Philip and Alexander's family, demonstrating the divine and heroic status of the Macedonian rulers and their connection to the Greek world. It is one of the few monuments in Olympia dedicated to an individual rather than a god. When the Romans conquer Greece in the 2nd century BCE, they become fans of Greek culture, including the Olympics. The Romans repair neglected buildings and build new structures in Olympia. They also change, some say perverted, the nature of the games, transforming them from a Greek religious ritual to a secular Roman spectacle, including gladiatorial combat. Rome opens the games to any citizen of the empire, broadening their appeal at the cost of their Greekness. Rome's notorious Emperor Nero, a big fan of the Olympics, attends the games in 67 CE. He has the games rescheduled from their traditional 4-year cycle to accommodate his visit. During the games, he participates in several events, including chariot racing. And despite failing in some competitions, he is still declared the winner due to his imperial status. His interference in the games is widely criticized, and after his death in 68 CE, his victories are erased from the official records. In 393 CE, Christian Roman Emperor Theodosius I bans the Olympics as part of his broader efforts to suppress pagan festivals. The sanctuary at Olympia falls into decline, and by the 6th century CE, earthquakes and floods have buried much of the site. Though the ancient Olympics Games cease, their legacy endures. The Olympic ideal of athletic excellence and fair competition persists through history, ultimately inspiring the revival of the modern Olympic Games in 1896. Today, the ancient site of Olympia remains an enduring symbol of unity, athleticism, and reverence for tradition.